everyone, and welcome to our YouTube channel, Moneyline with Nancy at TV. In case you're not a subscriber yet, please do subscribe. Just press the subscribe button as well as turn on the notification bell so that you can get notifications when we upload our videos. Don't also forget to subscribe and join, follow, like our other social media platforms. Of course, you're seeing it right about now. Don't also forget to share this video across your platforms. Enjoy the video. All right. So
yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. Good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome to the program. Let's get started with what the minister said. I don't know if you listened to my introduction. The minister has attributed the recent drop, not even recent, they attributed that food prices have been falling. So let me say it as they said it, that the food price fall is attributed to local output under the Agro Pocket program and some of the things that they've been doing. But from your intelligence data, do you see broad-based output gains or isolated improvements in perhaps some commodities, some staples, and also the harvest season?
So it's thank you for having me once again. It's isolated events in some areas, and the harvest season has contributed as well. So we have something called the Jollof Index where we track these commodity prices, and one thing we saw was that prices, for example, there were variations in regional data. Prices dropped by about 15% in Bauchi, but in Kano they rose about 7% and also rose in Port Harcourt. While in the other places, we collect data from 8 markets across Nigeria. In the other places they dropped. So Kano and Port Harcourt were the places where they rose, but in other places, Bauchi saw the largest drop. So that tells you that there's a regional angle to it. I think that there's also a technicality in terms of measuring inflation. Don't forget that we had a rebasing of the inflation baskets. So it's what the effect of that is that it makes the rate of increase look smaller. But the key thing I think remains that for the average person, the critical thing remains absolute price. A pot of jollof, for example, as measured by the SBM Jollof Index, still costs about 26,000 naira. This is roughly a third of the national minimum wage. So a 3% drop, which is what happened from the last time we published the Jollof Index, it's not, while it's a drop and we must be thankful and appreciate little gains, it's not the most meaningful thing. People are still forced to cope with the sachetization of Nigeria's economy. So this atomized purchasing is a clear sign of distress.
The minister, I'm talking about minister, in fact, both ministers, because even last week I did read from the Minister of Agriculture as well as the Minister of State for Agriculture. And both ministers have dismissed claims that imports crashed prices. You remember that some months ago, this same government said they were going to give, I think, a 180-day window for imports. And I also mentioned on the program yesterday that what we're seeing could be cosmetic for the fact that if this goes away, that is, if imports stop, we are going to go back. And it's also going to impact, there would be pressure on food inflation. So saying that the import window items have not even been yet released, that's according to the Minister of State. I'm looking at a statement. What data points would confirm or even refute that assertion? Should the minister expect us as Nigerians, or let me even say, for those of us that are analysts and looking at these numbers all the time and the implications of it, do you think we should take him hook, line, and sinker?
No, we should not. You're correct in that assertion. At the end of the day, the minister is a politician, and a politician will always make political statements.
In fact, both of them.
Yeah,
politicians
will always make political statements. But let me put it bluntly: politicians will always politic. So that's what we are seeing. The fact remains: the witch flies at night, the child dies in the morning. You can't remove cause and effect. It's not an accident that food prices dropped shortly after the government opened that window and shortly after we had the rebasing of the inflation basket. there's always cost and effects. So that's the classic thing that we're seeing, and we should be realistic about that. The fact remains that Nigeria still has a problem. The biggest single factor driving our food inflation crisis or our food security crisis is insecurity. We've moved beyond seeing banditry and the pastoral conflict in the Middle Belt as just security problems. They are actually impeding our economy and our food supply. This insecurity is an unofficial tax. People moving, so truckers, for example, who move food from the north to the south, have to pay a premium of what sometimes between 20 and 30% for all sorts of unofficial levies to all sorts of non-state actors. These facilitation fees are eventually passed on to the consumer. But the key damage that this thing does, especially because of our infrastructural deficits, is that it reduces what gets from the hinterlands to the tables. And until our farmlands and transit corridors are secure, until we improve the infrastructure, we will still keep needing a lot of imports in order to keep prices stable. And I think we need to get over the fixation with whether we are importing or not. The main thing that we should be looking to do as a country is to drive up productivity. At the end of the day, Nigeria is not an island. We need to trade it with the world. And if what we are bringing in is food, and then we are exporting something else to the world, so be it. Provided we can make the food prices stable and low for our population. So all of these political statements is just that, political statements. We need to be able to do the proper work that is required for our country to move forward and for our population to be fed.
Cheta, do you think that the cost of living crisis, which we saw in 2023, as well as 2024, do you think that cost of living crisis is abating now with this drop in food prices? And I'm a bit moderate with the statements this morning because I've also seen food price drop, perhaps rise, 50 kg rise. I go to the market, and I go to the market very often. What I say on this show is not hearsay. I really go around the markets, I buy stuff, regularly.
I'm just imagining a picture of you in your for haggling with the market.
Cheta is not even a for you see me in my jeans or my t-shirt. They know me. No, they do know me in the markets that I go to, and I'm asking, even if how much is this, how much is that, how much is this? So anything I say here on the show is not hearsay, it's experiential. So where am I going to, in essence? The cost of living crisis, do you think that is abating now as a result of this gradual drop or moderation in prices? And let me also put this, the imports that we've spoken about, as well as the harvest effects that we are seeing because of a few products were already in the harvest season, the rains perhaps will be gradually going now. These effects create temporary price reliefs or temporary even price dips. Do you think that this will really last? And statistically, how long does this relief period, will it last before perhaps logistics or even dry season effects come back to bear and we see prices moving up? Is that time we will know if government is really telling us the truth or not? So because that cost of imports will still be adjusted one way or the other.
So one thing that I will say is that hopefully we are definitely moving in the right direction. But people need to understand certain technicalities here. A slowdown in inflation does not necessarily mean a drop in prices.
Exactly.
A slowdown in inflation simply means that the rate at which prices are rising is slowing down. So prices are no longer rising as fast. It's also important for people to understand that inflation is not a bad thing. And in short, for your economy to grow, you need inflation.
But not as high as we have now.
Low inflation, exactly.
Single digits. If we can get 5%, fantastic.
If we can get 5%, that's perfect.
Fantastic.
The perfect kind of inflation will be inflation that is somewhere in the 1 to 4% range.
Exactly.
Not the 20% that we see. So that's what we should be working towards. Having said all of that, there are so many things that factor into inflation. Again, we talked about security. We've talked about the infrastructural gap. We need to also talk about other structural issues. We have a massive mechanization gap in our agriculture. We're trying to feed a 21st century population with 19th century tools. How is that going to work? What it leads to is low productivity, low production, and post-harvest losses of between 50 and 60%. That is one of the fundamental problems. Storage. We don't have enough storage facilities. A couple of years ago, and I think I would speak to my people in the office so that we'll probably do that measurement again. But a couple of years ago, we did a measurement and found that based on Nigeria's official storage facilities, the amount of food that we can store to feed our population will last just 4 days. That's a problem. That is a problem because all of these things, it creates scarcity. And Economics 101 says that when there's scarcity, prices go up. So we have to there's a lot of rolling up of the sleeves that needs to be done so that we have a lot of work, because we have a lot of work to do. But when we keep trying to play politics, we will not get to doing that work.
Okay. Mr. Cheta, let me ask this last question. To what degree are we seeing the price easing in rural wholesale markets compared with the urban retail shelves? And let me explain what I mean. Are the margins in the middle of the value chain absorbing the benefit? Because food could actually be a lot cheaper in the rural areas, those wholesale markets, but when it gets to us in the urban centers, a lot of costs are in between. So what do you have to say about that?
Again, so in the north, no. And the issue is insecurity. So
Okay.
between your farm in, say, Gwazo, random place in Kano State, so between your farm in Gwazo or Bichi and Kano City, there are security problems that add a tax on the food. Between your farm in Azare and Bauchi, there are security issues that add a tax. Definitely, between your farm in Makurdi and Abuja, there are security issues that add a tax. Of course, this is compounded by infrastructural issues. So it's almost as if I'm repeating myself. Security, infrastructure, storage. These things need to be sorted, and they need to be sorted honestly and decisively. Until we do that, we'll still keep going around in this circle. Also, we need to solve our productivity problem so that we're not just exporting only oil to the world, increasingly dwindling amounts of oil, but we are exporting other things that the world needs. The moment, I can assure you that the moment Nigerians are getting income from other sources and we have enough money flowing about, we will not be talking about whether we're importing food.
Anyway, you're not sounding like a broken record, or you're not sounding repetitive. We've been
I'm
sounding
sounding like a
repetitive.
scratch CD.
Yeah, you're sounding like a scratch CD. We've been sounding like scratch CD since for the past 15 years on this insecurity. But the government will not take us serious. It will take Trump serious. Because when... Thank you for making it up to this minute, watching the video. Thank you all. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Moneyline with Nancy TV. Like, follow all our other social media platforms where we keep you up to speed with fantastic interviews, as well as markets, personal finance, business, and economy information. This is the best place to be. I'll see you all again in the next video.